So we had this thing go on this week, and I don't know what to make of it because I'm not sure if I'm on board yet. But the whole Chris Evans deal. So if you're not familiar, which I mean, if you live under a rock, I suppose, Chris Evans plays Captain America in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and at the end, during the events of Avengers Endgame, spoiler warning, he becomes tasked with returning the stones back to their original places in the universe, and he never comes back. Well, he does, but he stays in the past, creates an alternate timeline, and he lives out his life with Peggy, and lives up happily ever after. We don't know what happens in the past with him. Like, did he sit around and watch things happen, or was there another version of Captain America running around during that while he was living his life? Like, it's very.
So it's interesting because even the directors, the Russo brothers, and the two writers who wrote the films, I always forget their names. It's like McFeely and
wow,
Marcus.
Marcus and McFeely.
Yeah, Marcus and McFeely. Even the writers seem to have a different interpretation. I think the Russo brothers might have said that was a cap that created an alternate timeline. And then Marcus and McFeely were like, no, it's kind of like Back to the Future. Like, he was always there. So, like, he's been in the back this whole time. He just didn't interfere with the timeline. And I'm like, okay. I like him.
So he didn't go grocery shopping at all?
Yeah, I don't know.
He didn't go to McDonald's ever? And no one ever saw him outside? Interesting.
I felt like that to come up with that ending because they knew they had to get rid of Chris Evans. Like, they're like, all right, so like if Chris Evans just retires as Cap in the modern timeline, every movie we're going to be like, where's Cap? Are you telling me this is happening? Cap wouldn't do it. So basically some legit sources were reporting rumors that there are talks happening to bring him back. And then Chris Evans tweeted news to me. Some immediately said, oh, we have another Ben Affleck, Michael Keaton situation. Yeah. And some suggested, like you have, Ty, that if it is true, that's of course what he would say. He doesn't want to ruin it.
Of course. He also didn't say what he was referring to.
Yeah.
He didn't say that, hey, that report that just came out of me returning? News to me. He just said news to me. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And earlier this year, well, I mean, actually late last year, because that's apparently where we're at right now. I don't even know. It's all the same to me.
Yeah.
Tatiana Maslany said the same exact thing. And I know they're two different actresses, and they're in two completely different spectrums of where the Marvel Cinematic Universe is for them. Yeah. But she said the same exact thing. She said, someone was like, oh, there was a leak. You're She-Hulk. Are you happy? And she said, news to me. Said the same exact thing.
And
then we find out that she is, in fact, She-Hulk.
She-Hulk. Let's be clear. He could easily refute this. Hey, folks, I know there's some crazy rumors going around. Just like the writer from the New York Times Hamada article came a day later after we had said that, be careful, people are misreporting this. He came out and said, oh, I didn't say that. I was just saying that Keaton is the Batman, the second Batman in the Flash movie. That's all I was saying. Chris Evans could clearly come out and say, folks, I know there are rumors going around, or his agent or someone could say fake news, incorrect reporting, and that's not happening. This has been a few days now.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
so
he's something kind of ambiguous, which means it doesn't mean he's definitely coming back. He could be having conversations, and he may still say no.
Yeah, and okay, so I am a huge Marvel fan. However, I do think it's too soon. I mean, think about it. They haven't even brought Vision back yet. I mean, sort of, kind of.
You watched it. You did a live stream, right?
Yeah, of course.
I watched it too. So if we can maybe talk about that later.
Yeah, of course.
On the other hand, I'm also looking at his age. He's still young, and I've said the same thing about Henry Cavill. They're both in their late 30s. You don't want to wait till they're in their early 40s.
No. Yeah, no.
They could still do it. I mean, look at Hugh Jackman. He played Wolverine till he was 50 and was in incredible shape. The Rock is almost pushing 50 in a couple of years. But
I'm not saying
different genetics, different people, you don't want to bring them back and
And I'm not saying that it won't happen. I think they left the door open because they know it will happen. However, and someone made the point to me the other night during that stream, actually, I believe it was, where they said, well, 2020 for a lot of people was enough time for everything, right?
Yeah.
It was such a bad year that like you could almost say it's like 5 years at this point. However, it's not. And I think I wouldn't bring him back to the MCU proper, the timeline right now, at least for another year and a half.
And that's probably when we would see him if he does sign something.
Give it a couple years, right? Have a couple movies without him. Get to know the world without a Captain America or without Steve Rogers, I should say. And
or
then
the Avengers.
Yeah, and then bring him back in a limited capacity with the right story. And then someone was like, well, what about this? You know, Disney Plus is trying to compete with HBO Max. HBO Max has Zack Snyder's Justice League coming out. So they want, as of right now, The Mandalorian having Luke Skywalker in it, right? That's their big pull. Yeah. What about a show with Cap returning the stones? How do you feel about that? That is separate, and that isn't during the timeline we're expecting to go through for Phase 4. So honestly, I wouldn't be too upset about that.
My feeling was maybe Steve discovers. See, this doesn't work either. Maybe look, time travel now exists in the MCU. Maybe someone goes back and screws up the final timeline, the one at the end of Endgame, and they need Steve Rogers for whatever reason. I mean, there are a million ways. Even in the comics, they always find a way to bring Cap back or make him young again. Or so. How would you feel if he kind of played the new director of the not a Shield, but if he was brought back as the leader of the Avengers, not in a fighting capacity, but in a Samuel L. Jackson capacity? Like, yeah, obviously if things get crazy, he will get involved, but he will be the person to kind of bring them together and to say it's your team now. Like he's the CEO more or less, not necessarily the leader in terms of like he's going out. And
he did his time. He did his field work, and now he is the head of the CIA, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
I'm not opposed to that either.
Yeah, and that way you can have him as a limited capacity. He can be the leader, kind of like the president. He's there, but you guys go and you do the whatever.
Yeah, he's the one who tasks you with the next job, right?
Yeah,
he's the man behind the chair at this point because he did his time. He saved the world 4 times. Not more than that because he's been around since the 40s. So if anyone earned the right to retire, it's him, or to come back as like more like a head of. And I would say I don't think he would ever want to be the head of Shield, but the head of the Avengers, yes.
Yeah. And as for the whole thing with the Snyder Cut, I don't think Marvel's worried because right now, they have a bunch of new shows coming out. They have a lot of stuff coming out, and Star Wars is kind of feels like it's back, with the end of Mandalorian season 2. I think they're just going to do their own thing. I don't think they're worried. Like even if the Snyder Cut is successful, which I think it already is, just the fact that it exists. I don't think they're too worried about that. And I think they were worried back in 2015, 2014 when BVS was announced and all of a sudden Serpent Society became Civil War. A lot of people feel that might have been in reaction. Like, oh, crap, they got Batman versus Superman. What are we going to do? Captain America 3's got to be bigger. Some people say, no, that was always the plan. But I don't think they're too worried about the Snyder Cut. And not worried in the sense that they don't see it as a threat. They know right now, look, the DC people, they have their fans. The Marvel people have their fans. And there are people like us who are fans of both. Yeah. Or there are people like Justice who doesn't like Snyder's DCU.
Yeah. Well, where is he? So, but yeah, so you had just mentioned WandaVision. Yeah. I'll just stick with the Marvel stuff. What did you think about the first couple episodes?
I enjoyed them, but I'm getting to feel this might have been a show they should have released all at once. Because look, we already know from the first trailer that this is either going on in Wanda's head or it's a simulation of some sort. We've talked about this. So now I felt like I was just waiting for the characters to wake up like the audience, like, when's the story going to start? And I didn't mind the first 2 episodes. I really enjoyed it. There was a lot of throwbacks to, see, I watched a lot of Nick at Night growing up. I remember a time when there was only one Nickelodeon channel, and at night they did not play cartoons. They played the Dick Van Dyke Show. They played I Love Lucy, I Dream of Jeannie, Bewitched, and that was the only thing you could watch. If you're a kid, it's summer. You can stay up all night, and Nickelodeon stopped showing cartoons. So I used to watch that stuff. I enjoyed it. I had fun with it, but I feel like, I don't know where the show's going, but maybe this could have been one that they just released at once. Whereas like The Mandalorian, you're kind of like, okay, this episode was about this. This episode was about this. This feels more like one big story.
Yes.
And I don't think we've gotten to the thesis. In college, you have to have your thesis that tells you what the essay is going to be about. I don't feel like we've gotten to the thesis of this show. There's a lot of Easter eggs for comic book fans. I know you've read The House of M. I have not, but that's not enough for me to like. I'm definitely going to go see it, but I thought maybe it could have been a better opening. Maybe
I can't agree more. I wouldn't have started with WandaVision. I would have started with Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Wasn't that the plan until COVID?
Yeah. I believe. WandaVision, if you're going to test you, and I said this last night, if you're going to test, like if you're going to do something experimental, which WandaVision is, right? You're experimenting with a new style. Don't do that first, right? Yeah. The Disney Plus is your new, that's your new baby, Give us some of what we're used to get us on board with it, right? Yeah. Give us what we're used to. Give us what we know you can do well. Falcon and Winter Soldier, that's it, right? It's got action, it's got story, it's got humor, it's got everything we already know and we're used to with Marvel movies, but we're going to get used to seeing it in episodic form over long form storytelling, right? Yeah. Ease us into it. Don't just throw us WandaVision and then the first 2 episodes where you're right, it's like we didn't get the thesis yet. We don't really know what's going on.
Yeah. And we already know that it's just not real. We know it's a simulation of some kind.
There's no way it's real,
Yeah. So like we're just kind of waiting for them to wake up. Like, okay, so it's like sort of like if you watch The Sixth Sense, spoiler alert, and Bruce Willis is dead at the beginning.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, when is he going to find out that he's dead? Like it just
right. No, exactly. I do not, and I've been skeptical of WandaVision for this whole time. I've been saying it. You can go back. I've been skeptical about this for a while now. I don't like sitcoms like that. Me personally, I think it's creative. I think you're pushing boundaries, and I think it's a cool way to tell a story about 2 not typical characters, right? However, if this goes on for 6 episodes, I'm going to lose interest. I tell you that right now. Yeah. I am. I'm going to lose. I don't want to wait till the last 3 episodes of the show.
I think they realized that. That's why they put 2 out. Like, why put 2 episodes out and not just 1? They did not have confidence in that first episode. Like, if that had just been the first episode, I would have been. And the credits are long because it was like 29 minutes. And the credits started like 23.
That's how Mandalorian was too, and it frustrated me.
Yeah, but at least Mandalorian, like the story. The first episode, he's find the kid. Next episode, they got to repair the ship.
And there was no moment like that.
Yeah,
there was no Baby Yoda moment because at the time we didn't know his name. Everyone just called him Baby Yoda, the child, right? Yeah. There was no, in that first WandaVision episode, and even in the second episode, there was no moment where you were like, got it, that's where we're going, right? There was no epiphany. And I think
maybe the moment is supposed to be when you hear that person saying, Wanda, who's doing this to you? Wanda, can you hear me? And I'm like, okay, so she's in a simulation or she's in some kind of psychic spell. I don't know. But I already knew that. We already knew that before when we saw the first trailer.
Yeah. So I gave it a 7.3.
Yeah. That's
out of
I would
10.
give it a 7 out of 10. It's not saying it was, I enjoyed it. And it was kind of nice to see Vision. Like we forget that he's dead. He didn't come back after the snap. He was gone.
Yeah.
And there's also the possibility that the Vision we are seeing is not Vision. It might be just her projection of Vision. Or I made the theory. It's
okay. God, sorry.
I had the theory that part of Vision was still out there because Shuri was working on Vision, so she might have been able to take part of him out, even though she wasn't able to fulfill the process of removing the Mind Stone. And you see the Mind Stone, like there's a lot of Easter eggs in this, but that wasn't enough to hold my attention. I'm like, oh yes,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Agnes is Annie Harkness or whatever her name is.
Agnes.
Agnes Harkness. Yeah.
No, Agatha. Sorry.
Agatha Harkness, but her name is
Agnes.
Agnes. Yeah.
But so what I think happens is that, because I mean, the Vision is made from Tony Stark, right? Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, some AI.
Jarvis.
It's also made of vibranium, right? If I'm not wrong about that.
He's all vibranium.
That is very, like, even dead. That is worth getting, right? That all of him is dead or alive. Just to reverse engineer it, if you're someone. So I can guarantee that someone, Sword probably, pulled his body out of the woods, or someone pulled his body out of the woods after Thanos ripped the Mind Stone out. And Wanda either went to get his body and was captured by the same people who have Vision's body, and then put in a simulation where she wouldn't go knocking on doors, right? She wouldn't go scratching at the surface to figure it out. And I think that by her seeing the beekeeper come up, by her, there's a couple times where she snaps into like her real hero mode, but then immediately goes back and she wants to just be with Vision again, right? She just wants to be in the simulation. She took the blue pill, or is it the red pill? Which one's the Matrix one?
Yeah, the Matrix. So if you take the red pill, you find reality.
Okay, so she took the blue pill.
You took the blue pill. You're right.
Right now, she's taking the blue pill. Right, she doesn't want to leave this reality.
Yeah.
Even though she could, her powers are strong enough, and I think Agatha has something to do with it, because there's no way. I mean, she feels very inserted into this world. Right.
Yeah. She's
not like everybody else. She's drinking and making fun of the blonde lady where everyone else is trying to impress her. Right.
Yeah.
Nothing with Agnes feels right. Like, even if I didn't know who she was, I would still, my mind would be like, her.
Yeah.
She's probably the one doing it. So, I mean, I can see where this is going, or I can try to, but
I have a feeling that the show is going to stay with the, I thought they're going to do the sitcom thing. At some point, reality will kick in, and then the show will go into, the greater MC, like, I have a feeling the story might just stay here until like the last 5 minutes of episode 9. Are you getting that vibe?
So what I've heard is 6 episodes of sitcom.
Okay.
3 episodes of back to reality.
Yeah.
Like them trying to escape wherever they are, or, whatever. There were several Easter eggs. There were a lot of fan service Easter eggs. However, I don't think it was enough to hold people's attention.
No. I mean, I'm definitely going to watch it next week, but am I excited? Like, oh man, I can't wait to see what happens next.
No,
not really.
No.
I'll watch it Friday. In fact, I'll probably watch it on time for the show more so than my own self. Like if I wasn't doing the podcast, I would just wait till it's like episode 9 and then just binge watch it in one day.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we were talking about this with Garza on Thursday night, that this probably was not supposed to be the beginning of Phase 4. It was supposed to be Black Widow, which again, I want to see, but I wasn't like, oh my God, the Black Widow movie.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about that either.
Yeah. If she's dead, and I have a feeling that they greenlit the Black Widow movie like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when they're like,
out of a PC move. Yeah.
Yeah. And well, she should have gotten a movie, but they didn't want to. Now they killed her, and they're like, oh, it's set in the past. And she has a family now, even though she talks about exclusively the Avengers being her family. She had no family. But that's fine. That's fine. And I do want to see it. But maybe there was something in that movie that was going to help set up Phase 4 of the MCU. And it was clearly not meant to be WandaVision.
No.
This show was supposed to be something kind of like ancillary to like the larger MCU, because I feel like the Winter Soldier and Falcon and the Winter Soldier looks like to be a mainstream story that is set in the world of the MCU. There's politics, there's war, there's stuff going on.
That's it right there. Everything in one, right?
Yeah.
Start it with this. And it's not like it's coming out a year from now, so it's like, oh, it's not possible to do that. Yeah. It's coming out next month. What's the January? It's coming out in a couple months. It's already done.
Yeah.
You could have given us that first. And then once you hooked people with that, then feed them WandaVision, because you know that, all right, they're in it for the long run now. Now we give them something that is a little bit experimental. Maybe you like it, maybe you won't, but that's okay, because we have stuff like I just showed you too.
Yeah. Is WandaVision a one-time thing, or is it supposed to be like
I don't know.
something?
I don't know. If I had to guess, at this rate, it might be a one and done.
And Winter Soldier might be.
I don't know what happened there. But my point was, like, if you look at Phase 2 started with Iron Man 3. And whatever issues you have with Iron Man 3, that was a big story that kicked off Phase 2. Phase 3 starts with Civil War. Mm-hmm. And now Phase 4 is going to start with WandaVision. You know, it's just... And we know that Disney Plus can do big budget shows. You know, they just did The Mandalorian. They're doing the Book of Boba Fett, so...
Did you know that they actually shot those episodes in front of a live audience?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's actually kind of cool.
Yeah. So 100% real live audience there and everything like that.
That's how they used to do those older sitcoms, the 50s and 60s. They used to actually film it in front of a live audience. And, interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. Or it might have just been the first episode.
Okay,
One of them, if not both of them, were shot in front of a live audience, straight up sitcom style. And I mean, it was like being on stage again, you know? Mm-hmm. So that was cool.
I'm trying to remember what the plot was, because I watched it, and, you know, I know the second one, Vision, has gum stuck in his system, and they have to do a magic show. The first one was the dinner with Mr. Hart. That's right, with the boss, yeah.
Yeah.
What was interesting, it was filmed like a typical sitcom until the boss started choking, and then it came into, like, you know, these close-ups. I was like, okay, so now the story's starting. No, it's not. But, like, it was like, okay.
That was one of the times I was referring to where Wanda snaps into it, and she's like, Vision, save him.
Yeah.
And, you know, her hero mode kicks in.
Yeah.
But overall, WandaVision, we'll see where it goes, and we'll stay on it. We'll update you per week, every week, let you know what we thought. If you guys can let us know what you think, that would be wonderful. Let's all have this experience together.